Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give people a few seconds to join the webinar. I can see the number going up as we speak. We're very happy to have everybody here. I know people's days are very, very busy. So it means a lot that you're coming and joining us today to learn a bit more about APA style and academic writer and what that can do for your students. So while a few more people enter the webinar, I'll go ahead and address a few housekeeping items, just logistics of the webinar. I just sent a message in the chat. So if you have, anything you'd like to mention or comment on, thoughts you'd like to share, just say hello. Or if you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and then we will make sure that we answer as many of them as possible. We'll also leave a little time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A. We also do have a Q&A feature. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to put your questions in there as well, either way. And then a few other things to note. We will be recording this webinar, and we will send that recording link to everybody after the fact. We will also be sharing a couple of links to resources, and we will also make sure to share those resources with you once the webinar has concluded. So don't worry, no need to take a lot of notes. We'll make sure we share everything with you afterwards. So I think what we can do is go ahead and start introducing the three presenters, just so you know who we are, and then we'll jump in. So I will start quickly. I am Cambria Sawyer. I'm with the American Psychological Association, and I work on helping share our academic databases with libraries and instructors. Pass it on to Emily and then Samantha.
Yeah, hello. My name's Emily Shodek, also with APA. I work on our customer engagement team as a training and support specialist. Samantha?
Hi, I'm Samantha Denny. I'm work on the APA style team at APA. So my team is responsible for creating, updating, promoting the APA style guidelines and books like the publication manual.
Awesome. And one other thing to note, we will be sharing a very short one-question survey when the webinar ends. So if you could please just stick around and answer that for us, that would be very helpful. Thank you. So I will go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. So just a quick rundown of today's agenda. We've gone through our introductions. So first we'll start with a presentation from Samantha. She will give us a bit of an overview about why scholarly writing skills are important in general, and an overview on what APA style is, why it's important, and then a few updates for what's new with APA style. And she might do that with the help of her cat, if we're lucky. And then we'll move on and I'll introduce quickly what academic writer is, give a quick overview, and then Emily will take us through a demonstration of the three different centers of academic writer. And then, like I said, ask any questions that you have in the chat. We'll be happy to address those during the demonstration or at the end during Q&A. So with that, Samantha, I will hand it over to you.
Great, thanks so much, Cambria. Can you move to the next slide? Awesome. So when you think about APA style, you might think about formatting or citing a reference, but really APA style goes much further and is much more than specific rules that are simply about how a paper is put together. APA style guidelines are created and updated in order to encourage excellence in scholarly communication. So every guideline that we create is designed to help with clarity, really making sure that scholars are communicating their ideas very clearly, precision, making sure that they're able to become part of the body of scientific literature because they are precise and specific enough, and inclusion, which focuses on treating people how they want to be treated and making sure people are referred to with the language that they use to describe themselves. Next slide, please. So you might not be aware that APA style has been around since 1929. It was created as just a psychological bulletin by APA style publication editors because they wanted a way to streamline how the papers that they were putting in their journals, they wanted to make sure they were very consistent. If you can imagine a world where there were no styles, you might see various fonts and strange formatting and things like that. And by standardizing how these scholarly papers were put together, it was very helpful to help our editors find information. Since that time, we've released a number of additional editions. We're currently on the 7th edition of APA style, and you can see that we do not release new editions very frequently. It tends to be 7 to 10 years between editions of the publication manual. So each time there is a new edition, it's because there are changes, whether that's in technology or society, that necessitate updating our guidelines. So we're currently on the 7th edition of the publication manual. We don't have an 8th edition in the works. So the 7th edition is what you and your students can really benefit most from using. So next slide. Learning APA style is a great way to set your students up for success, whether that's in research careers, whether that is in graduate school or other avenues where they might be interacting with scholarly literature. So APA style can be really helpful for students because it includes guidelines that are a framework to save writers from reinventing the wheel. So basically, a researcher does not have to think about specifically how they want to format a paper every single time they're doing a paper. They can do it in a consistent way, and they don't have to make a lot of those choices because those choices have been streamlined for them. It also encourages good communication that is clear and concise. So if you have a copy of the publication manual, which is also available in Japanese, it's going to encourage using words that are very clear to communicate in a way that is appropriate for scientific communication. Our guidelines also help writers to avoid plagiarism by giving credit where it's due. And it helps writers write with integrity. Citations will help researchers find and identify relevant work, and consistent formatting can help readers to find information. APA style users learn to be good readers and information consumers. And I think this is especially important when you're working with non-native English speakers. They might be exposed to a lot of research that is not in their native language, and APA style gives them the tools to read strategically. So instead of having a 30-page paper and just reading every word and understanding it immediately, it's going to give context by showing them where the method section is, what the abstract is, and things like that. So they can read very strategically instead of consuming all of the information and being expected to understand that. APA style is also critical for success in research careers. Science is very international, and APA style is the most widely used style in the world. Next slide, please. So you may have used APA style in the 6th edition or a previous edition in the past, and it really is quite important to use the most up-to-date edition. As I mentioned before, we'll have a new edition only every 7 to 10 years. So the updates reflect technological changes, user feedback, and to make it easier to use and learn APA style. With the 7th edition, we've emphasized student writing. So there's a lot of emphasis on writing student papers, things like annotated bibliographies, response papers, a simplified student title page, simplified heading structure. We have fully endorsed using the singular they in research. We now encourage use of only one space at the end of a sentence, which will hopefully save some paper on your end. And we've streamlined and made parallel table and figure formats, simplified in-text citation formats, and standardized presentation of references with templates. So if you're still encouraging your students to use the 6th edition or a prior edition of APA style, moving to the 7th edition or using a tool like Academic Writer, which is compliant with APA style 7th edition, is a really good idea to make sure they can be really successful in their research careers. Next slide, please. I mentioned that APA style is the most common writing style in the world. And it really is. The data I'm showing here is specific to the United States. But basically what we find in the US is that approximately 70% of college majors require APA style or allow it as an option for written assignments. Humanities degrees tend to use MLA style in the US, but they account for only 4.2% of bachelor's degrees in the United States. So we see APA style used very commonly in nursing, healthcare, psychology, education, social work, different disciplines like occupational therapy, criminal justice, public health. And if any of your students are in the behavioral sciences or in any of the health sciences, they might find that they're reading a lot of papers in APA style and could benefit from learning more about APA, or that they're being asked to write in APA style. So I would definitely encourage, if you work with any of those types of students, to be teaching them the 7th edition of APA style. And then the last thing I'll mention is that some of the most common questions that we get from a Japanese audience is about transliteration. So it can, of course, be very difficult when you're used to writing in a non-Roman alphabet to be asked to do things like alphabetize references in a Western style. So we have a blog post that might be very helpful if you are looking to publish, maybe in an English language journal, or if you're presenting at an international conference. It can help with just any questions that you might have around transliteration and APA style. So Cambria will put that in the chat.
Thank you, Samantha. And like I said earlier, if you have any questions about what Samantha presented or what I'm about to present or Emily's demonstration coming up, feel free to put those questions in the chat. And like Samantha mentioned, I will also be putting those links that she shared in the chat in a little bit and in our follow-up after the webinar. So now that we've heard a little bit about the importance of scholarly writing in general and knowing APA style, we want to talk a little bit now about academic writer, which is APA's single platform resource to really hold students' hands in the process of learning the foundations of scholarly writing and APA style. So the platform is broken down into 3 distinct but integrated centers. So we have the Learning Center, which is full of self-paced tutorials and quick guides and sample papers, and they really help students get to the frequently asked questions that they tend to have for their instructors or librarians, and really learn some of the foundational principles of scholarly writing and APA style. Then we have the Reference Center, tons and tons of templates for different reference types. We're always updating those as well as new media emerges. And the Writing Center, which is really the heart of academic writer. contains a lot of templates for all different scholarly papers and really walks students through the process of writing their paper within the platform. And Emily will give us more in-depth demonstrations of those in a bit. So a little bit more on what Academic Writer is. We've discussed the three centers. As Samantha alluded to earlier, it does align with the latest edition of the publication manual, and we do update it as and when there are updated reference types and things like that, so you know you're always having the most up-to-date information. It is self-paced. Students can use this on or off campus 24/7. It is very multidisciplinary, so like Samantha mentioned, there's a lot of different areas of study that use APA style or just scholarly writing in general that this applies to, and it's all wrapped up into one single platform. So just a quick idea of some of the different areas of study that Academic Writer applies to. We heard some earlier, of course, psychology, but business, education, medicine, public administration, nursing. There's a lot of different areas of study that use APA style. So it's a very multidisciplinary platform that can be used across your institution. We do offer a marketing kit to help libraries promote awareness of Academic Writer once you've subscribed. So that's another thing that helps save time along with it being multidisciplinary. Also, because students can engage in that self-paced learning outside of class, they can be more prepared for their writing assignments. And then instructors can also use class time for more application-based activities rather than teaching APA style from scratch. It also helps with accessibility because it's all on one platform. The lessons, the reference builder and storage, and the writing center are all in one place for students. Like we mentioned, they have access to this on or off campus all hours of the day, even when instructors might not be able to answer questions. The fact that it's provided through the library means that it's non-cost prohibitive to students, which is very important, as we know. And then it also eases some access to information with contextual excerpts from the publication manual. And Emily will show a bit more on that later. And here's just one example of those contextual links. Like I said, we'll see a demo of this later, but as students move through the learning and writing centers, there will occasionally be links to excerpts from the publication manual, teaching students why they're doing something, so they don't just memorize how. They're also learning, the meaning behind writing in APA style. And then because it's developed by the writers of APA style in the publication manual, it is the most trusted source of information more than any other third-party website. It is always aligned with the latest edition. And because it walks students through the process of learning, referencing, and writing, it really promotes lifelong skill building. They leave university having a much more solid foundation for scholarly writing and their research career to come. And with that, I will pass things over to Emily to show us how Academic Writer works and looks.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cambria and Samantha. What a great setup for the demo. We'll actually see everything in action. Get my screen shared. You should be seeing that. Just let me know if you can't see, but I am on the homepage of Academic Writer. So you can see here, just like Cambria mentioned in her slides, we have the three main centers. We have the Learn Center, Reference Center, and Write Center, which you can access directly on the homepage here on the front page. Up across the top, you can see that it is addressing me by my first name. So welcome, Emily. That's how I know that I'm logged into my individual account. So everyone does need to have their own account, and you will just create that the first time that you access. You can also view the file cabinet, My File Cabinet. This is where you can quickly access your work. So your references, papers, favorites, and also lessons. So I'm just going to go through each center. We'll start off with the Learn Center here first. So here in the Learning Center, there is a collection of lessons and samples. On this first page here, you have the option to go to My Lessons. So My Lessons are the lessons that you have started, that you're working on, or that you have also completed. So all of your progress with these lessons is saved within your account. You can also go to Browse the Lessons and Samples to view all of the content that's available in the Learning Center. What's really great about the lessons, the quick guides and tutorials here, is that really everything's built for independent learning. So you can go through these lessons at your own pace, work through them at a speed that works best for you, and all of the content is here collected, available for you to refer back to and access at any time. So in the Learning Center here, the main objects that we have are quick guides, tutorials, and then all of these samples. So sample papers, sample references, sample tables, sample figures, and then this My Favorites tab at the end. This is where you can create your own personal library. So you can click a star next to a lesson or sample that you would like to keep track of. So you can refer back to it in the future if you know that it's going to be helpful for you, something that you might want to refer back to often. So our quick guides here, these are shorter lessons. There's 85 of these. They're shorter lessons. They are more specific to APA style guidelines. So covering things like references, citing sources, formatting your papers. So those take about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. There's nothing is timed, of course. You can work completely at your own pace. So I do want to just show you, I'm going to jump into one of these. Let's go to, I'll just kind of scroll through. You can get an idea of some of the topics. We have things like age, apostrophes, audiovisual reference, basic paragraph structure. The one I wanted to click into is this basic paper setup. So this is a really great starting off point or refresher for APA style if it's been a little while since you have written a paper in APA style. This gives you a great starting off point for the basics. So how to format your fonts, your line spacing, your margins, your indentations, headers, all of those kind of little details that make up the formatting of your papers. So once I click into here, I'll show you what this looks like. A second to load. So it's going to load the full lesson. And this one I had already started working on, so it saves my spot. So I can just jump back in to resume my learning. You can see at all times how much you have completed already. So this one is showing me 90% complete. And you can also see check marks next to the sections that you've already worked on. So this outline on the side shows you all of the topics covered. And as you scroll through the content, if I go back and go back, you can always go back and review sections that you've finished. But all I need to do is scroll through. Some of the content is interactive that I will click through, expand, and just scroll through, reading at my own pace. Like I said, nothing is timed. It's really built for independent learning and self-assessment as well. I say assessment because we also have some quizzes. So the knowledge checks here, they're kind of like a checkup quiz. So this knowledge check, they're going to be pretty brief, but you will just complete a quiz, and these are really just for practice. So this one has 5 questions. I can work, of course, at my own pace, like I mentioned, and I just complete this to complete the full lesson here. So once I finish the knowledge check, it will give me a check mark next to that section. In addition to that, there's also a quiz. The quiz here, it looks like this one I've already taken once. You do get 3 attempts, so 3 chances to take these quizzes. They're we call them low stakes quizzes, but they really are intended to have some more weight to them than these knowledge checks, since the knowledge checks, you can take them over and over, and you also get immediate feedback on the correct answers. The quizzes, you just have those 3 attempts, and it's not going to provide all of the answers for you, but you will get a score. So this one I've completed once, and I get a score of 80%, which is passing. And then I would have the option to take that again if I want. Okay. And let me show you. So back in the Learning Center page, you also have this My Lessons page. So this is where I can track my progress of the lessons that I've been working on or that I have completed. So here's a list of all of the lessons, whether they're quick guides or tutorials. Here, and I can see my progress, so the percent that I have completed. If it is completed, I'll see 100%, and I can see the date that it was completed. I can also see how many quiz attempts I've used out of 3, and I can also see the score that I received on that quiz, and also the date that I took the quiz. So here you can also, once you have completed a lesson, you can check this box next to the lesson, and you can receive a certificate to prove that you completed that lesson. Let me show you what that certificate looks like. It just has your name on it. It tells me that I successfully completed and the number of lessons here that I exported on the certificate, my email address that's attached to my account. I can see the date completed, and then also the quiz score with the date I took the quiz. So this is really just if you have required lessons for your course, if your instructor wants to assign these lessons, you can then provide this certificate to prove that you've completed the lessons. And then I think I wanted to mention also, so I talked about the quick guides, how those are our shorter lessons. We also have tutorials. There's 21 of these, and these cover topics in research and also writing. So we have things like the basics of APA style, like that basic paper setup lesson I showed you, but these tutorials go into more depth and they are a bit longer. So they would take more like 30 to 40 minutes to complete. So this basics of APA style, also a really great overview of the foundations of APA style. Great to review as a reminder about formatting, about grammar, using bias-free language, how to format your tables and figures, in-text citations. It's just got so much information in there that's helpful with anyone writing a paper in APA style. Okay, and then so I would encourage you, of course, if you do gain access to Academic Writer, to explore the topics. There are so many covering research, writing, our quick guides really covering everything from your formatting, your references, tables, citing sources, so many. And then we also have our samples. So also really helpful for independent learning. You know, if students are not given instruction included in their course for APA style, they're kind of more expected to learn this at their own time and just implement that in their papers. This is a great tool to have for them to refer to and just at any time have this to rely on to look up information and give really great samples and examples here. So we have sample papers. So all of these paper types, they do include student papers as well as professional manuscripts. The formatting is a bit different. They're in the 7th edition for student papers. So that's why we have some papers that are listed as professional, as you can see, and some as student. So if you are really wanting to, you know, prepare for your career and plan to publish papers someday or publish your work, I think it's excellent to use these professional manuscript examples to really, you know, envision how you would format your papers so as you would publish someday your work. So many samples of papers. These have also been very thoroughly reviewed by our APA style experts, as all of the content here in Academic Writer is. So you're getting the most reliable academic or APA style content that exists out there. We also have sample references. Here's topics covered or types of sources covered with your sample references. So many types of sources, as we know that the reference format will change a little bit depending on the type of source that you are working with. So it's all very clearly labeled. You can click the star here to add it to your favorites collection. And you can also use the search up here if you have a certain type of source that you're looking for. Okay, and we have sample tables as well. So types of tables. Here you can view our types of tables here and view the samples for how each of those types should be formatted. And the same for the figures. So you can view all of these types of figures, graphs, charts here, pie graphs, photographs, how those would be formatted within your paper. So great examples there. Okay, and I just realized I wanted to show also, as Cambria mentioned in her great introduction, about the links to the publication manual. So one place you can find these, and they're a little bit hidden, but I just went to the lesson here, this quick guide, the basic paper setup, and anywhere that you see within the product that says learn more, if you click learn more and expand that, that's typically where you're going to find these specific publication manual pages. So this one here, you can see it gives me the exact sections, and it's related to the content that I'm viewing in the quick guide here. So I'll click on that to show you what it looks like. These are not full text. You know, it's not full text of the publication manual. Academic Writer's not meant to replace the publication manual. It's really meant to work hand in hand with the manual, but there are many pages, and you can also link over here to other sections from the book here that are kind of related here. So I can click over if I wanted to see the page about the running head, and I can read directly from the book about the running head there. So just really helpful to know that those are there. It might be easy to miss if you didn't know it was there. Okay, I don't know if I should pause for any questions. We can probably get to some at the end too, but Cambria, of course, let me know if anything comes up.
Sounds good. I think we can save them till the end for now.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so then I'm going to move along. So that's our Learning Center, and let's talk about references now. So references, how we are providing or giving credit to our sources and making sure that we do that, and we list out all of the sources as references in our paper. So we can, when I go to the Reference Center, I have the option here it says go to my references. So that's my full library of references, or I can add new references. So getting those references from wherever they are, a database, another reference manager, and getting them into Academic Writer. So let me show you first what my references, this is your reference library, looks like. So this is really meant for you to gather, collect, and organize your references. And once you have them here, you'll be able to very quickly and easily add them onto any paper that you create. So these are all of my references. They show up in a long list here. They're going to automatically be in alphabetical order. These key words here that you see, these kind of just word images, these are tags. So they're reference tags. These will help you organize your references by linking them together with these keywords here. You can use keywords from your research. You can use more specific topics. You could use a class name, a course number, whatever helps you to organize, you can use. But once I click on that tag, it's going to link together all of those references that I have that tag added to. So kind of creates this nice little linked network of references and helps you organize and find what you're looking for, because you could search up in the search bar that tag and it would also pull up the same thing. So it would pull up all of your references with that tag. Okay, you can manage those reference tags if I click Manage Reference Tags, and from this page you can see these are all of the tags I have created. I can click the pencil to edit the tag. I can also view exactly which references over here. If I click that, it will show me exactly which references this tag has been added to. So it helps me manage those. Also, I'm going to go back here and just show you a couple things in our details. So all of these references are mapped back to a form that I'll actually show you in just a moment. But if I click edit, we can see here's that form. I'm going to go into this in more detail in a minute. But when I actually edit the reference, I make those edits within this form, because this form built by our APA style experts is what helps us format that reference into APA style. So if I need to make edits, I'll click the pencil and make those edits in that form. I can also view papers that are associated with this reference. So if I click Associated Papers, it will show me all of my papers that I have this reference added to, so I can really kind of monitor and keep track of how I've been using this reference. Okay, but that's my full reference library there. And now I would like to show you how you actually get those references there into Academic Writer. So I just went back to the Reference Center tab, and I will click on Add References. From here, you have two options to get those references into your account. You can create. This Create tab presents a full list of many types of resources. So we have them organized kind of by broader topics. We have periodicals, books, meetings, audiovisual, software, etc. And then kind of sorted out more specific within those categories. So let me just go into our periodicals, and I will choose journal article, since I hope many students are relying on good peer-reviewed journal articles in their research. So from here, this is that form that I mentioned, so it's associated with every reference. And what's really great about these Create forms is that it's a great learning opportunity. Really excellent for independent learning, so that as you are working at your own pace and learning APA style on your own, especially if it's not instructed in class, you can use these to really teach yourself the sections of a reference and what exactly should go in each of those sections. You can even expand or collapse each of these so that you can take each section kind of one by one and focus really specifically here on our authorship. And then there's guidance. So these question marks, if I click on those, you're going to see more help. So really to help our independent learners here. So you can see examples, very specific, detailed information about our authorship section. So you'll just complete each section of the reference form. Got our date, we've got our title. There's some help with formatting. So this format in sentence case, and then we have format in title case. Those will help us with our capitalization. So there is some automation that is going to really help users save time as they're working. So, even if it's a few seconds here and there, those seconds can really add up and help you save time. And then at the bottom is where you can add those tags and then save that, and you will save all of this, add it to My References, and it will go into your My References collection. Okay, and then we also have the option to import, which is going to be a little faster, maybe not as time consuming as the Create option, but this is going to pull your references from outside sources. So if you're using APA PsycNet, EBSCOhost, so a database or a reference management tool like RefWorks, Zotero, if you use those, then you can import directly from those sources. So what you'll do is from those sources, you're going to export and always choose the RIS file option. It's just a file type that helps different platforms exchange citation data. And then you will choose that file and you will upload it here. So you're going to export that RIS, save it somewhere that you can easily access, and then upload it here. And it's going to just take a second and pull that record into your account so that you'll have those references very quickly added. One thing to mention is just it's not going to change any of the data that is brought in. So that's very much on the user to double check their work and make sure that there aren't any inaccuracies, since those references are coming from outside sources. So just always double checking your work. Okay, so I think that covers our references. I think with just, we've got just enough time to take a look at the Writing Center, and I'll go through how to start a brand new paper, and we'll look at the Writing Center features. So first, I just want to show you, so just kind of similar to the other centers, you have first the option to go to your library of content, so My Papers, or I can start a new one. In My Papers, this is where you can view all of your papers that you are working on. We also have collaboration, so you can view if you are the owner. So the owner is the person who initially started the paper, created the paper, and then your role here, if you are the owner, so you created the paper, or a collaborator means that I've been added to this paper by my colleague Jana. And you'll also see some details about the paper over here with the date and some additional details. So then let me go back and let's walk through the steps to start a brand new paper. So here we can select a template to get started. We have all of these types of papers that have been described in the publication manual. So these are going to format, kind of create a framework of the heading levels if those are identified for that type of paper. All of the papers include pre-formatted things like margins, spacing, page numbers, fonts. That is all automatically built in. So users don't have to spend that valuable time recreating all of those settings in their paper. It's going to be automatically built in. You can view sample papers here, which can be helpful, and then there's also a brief description. Also, we have this basic paper, which is going to be blank. It doesn't have any heading levels or anything set up in it, but it does automatically have, of course, those margins, spacing, all of that formatting. So it's compatible with any APA style paper. Okay, and I'm going to choose the multi-experiment. Another option you have here is to choose student or professional. Of course, like this would be up to the instructor. Sometimes instructors will ask that their students present their papers in professional manuscript style, which would include the running head, author note, abstract as anyone who is submitting their work to be published. So I kind of think it's a great kind of career preparation task to do that, but otherwise you can also, of course, choose the student assignment formatting option. So I'll just hit continue. You'll just need a paper title here, and then you will hit start writing and you are ready to go with your paper. So here you can see you have the heading levels set up for this type of paper. Each section has a brief description of what would typically go there. We have some help, so related help over here on the right side. If I click that, I can view sections of the paper. Oops, there we go. And there's really helpful information and guidance throughout my paper on these. Over here, this is where you can also view those publication manual pages, because remember I said look for learn more. So you're going to click that and you can view publication manual. You can also link to a quick guide to review heading levels, which is this section I have expanded. So that's your help anywhere you see that question mark. And a couple other things I'll show you. You have, actually, I'm going to jump over to another paper. So those are the steps you go through to create your paper. It's very simple, just a couple steps, and then you've got a new paper. I'm just going to go to one that has some content, some writing in it to show you a couple things. So we have our title page form. If I click on that, you actually complete the title page in a form. So I'll click title, and I'll just fill in the information for my specific paper. You can add a running head if your instructor does require that, or you can choose to not show that, so you have that option there. So you'll fill in everything in the form for your title page, and once you do that, you can start to preview. The preview shows you what your paper looks like so far. So we have our title page here, and then if I scroll through, I can see these are all automatic formatting, all of our margins, spacing, and click through. So this is my paper, and what I want to get to is to show you the references page. So these are my references. These are those exact references that I pulled from the reference center that we just talked about. I've just added them to this paper. So let me just go in and show you. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but we'll have the recording. I just want to make sure I get a chance to show you. So if you scroll down below, this is where your references are going to show up. And to add references to this specific paper, all you need to do is click Add Reference, and then you can do a search, or you can come directly to My References. So this is your full reference library, and then you have all these options to sort. I could choose like the newest references that I've added. So I know that I was doing some research and I added these today. So I could select the references that I want to add to the paper. So these come directly from that reference center, and just a few clicks, and then we've got them on our paper, and they're going to show up at the end formatted just like I showed you. Okay. And then, so after that, you can also add in-text citations, so giving credit within the text. As you can see, some of these in my very messy demo paper. But to do that, also just a couple clicks here. Let me find, I'll just click wherever just to show you. So click the cursor where you want that in-text citation to go, and you can scroll below and then choose the reference that you want to cite. I'll pick one of these. You can hit cite, and then you just need to enter some information to format that in-text citation. So is it parenthetical or narrative? Is it a quotation? And if you're unclear about that, you can click the question mark so that you can get some guidance. But I'll just hit submit, and then you can see it's dropped that in-text citation directly in where I had my cursor. So very quick and easy formatting within my paper. This colorful underlining, this is our grammar and spell checker, which is automatic. You can turn it off if you click this ABC. We also have, just in these last minute, we have some check tools. So these can help you check your paper. So checking your writing, checking your headings, your references. It kind of just runs a little report on your paper to look for errors or problems that you can fix. There's settings options. So if you wanted to go, if you had something outside of APA style that you needed to change, you can do that with the settings changing font and layout. And then last, of course, we have our export. So export allows you to pull the paper out of Academic Writer and submit it either to an instructor for an assignment or to be published. And yeah, I think that I covered everything. So I know it was kind of fast also, but there are so many features in Academic Writer that can really help you learn about APA style and writing, and then of course also help you as you plan to publish your work and share it with the world.
Thank you, Emily.
You're
We
welcome.
did have just a few questions that I'm
Okay.
going to try to address before we run out of time. One was about accessing Academic Writer and what kind of subscription you would access Academic Writer through. So I'm going to put a message in the chat. It is available as an institutional subscription through your institution's library. So if you are interested in getting a quote or requesting a free trial, or if you just have more questions about Academic Writer in general or how to access the platform, please contact USACO Corporation, and I've put their email address in the chat. So feel free to send them a message with any questions that you have. And then one question for you, Emily, was if Academic Writer has real-time updates for edits to APA style in between publication of, the publication manuals. And I think one example that popped into my head was how we'll add reference types when there's emerging media. I think we had AI added recently. If we could show
Absolutely.
that.
Yep, that's a great example, is updating those reference forms as, the world expands and we have more types of resources. So we added, let's see, I went to the wrong thing. So we added an AI form. I believe it's down here. Where is it? Somewhere in here. But yeah, that's one example. I would
Oh,
say,
there it
oh,
is.
here it is.
It's
Over
above
here,
legal. Yeah.
software. Yeah, AI generated content. So I know that was very recently added. We are constantly making updates within the platform. I wouldn't say, that there are many, and maybe Samantha could speak to this more, but many changes to the actual guidelines within APA style happening currently, but if they did happen, we would of course update Academic Writer to be the most current information that is available.
Yeah, the addition of the how to cite AI was based on a lot of feedback once ChatGPT 3 came out last year. We don't have tons of different updates to APA style. When we do, we tend to have them on our blog, and it's great that Academic Writer includes those updates.
Awesome, thank you. And then I think one last question that we have time for are if we have any examples of how other institutions have implemented Academic Writer. And I know we have 2 really great video interviews with some librarians and instructors at universities both in Australia and the United States recently, who gave an overview of how they like to incorporate Academic Writer into their courses, or how, the librarians, when students come to ask them questions about scholarly writing or APA style, they will refer them to specific learning modules in Academic Writer's Learning Center. So I will share links to both of those videos in the chat. It gives a good idea of what Academic Writer looks like when it's being used. And I think that is just about all we have time for. If there are any more questions, of course, feel free to reach out after the webinar. We are always happy to answer those. Like I mentioned, the contact email is in the chat. And let me see if I've left anything out. There is going to be a very short, literally one question survey when you exit out of the webinar, just a yes or no question. So if you're able to stick around and answer that, that's very helpful. And again, thank you so much for spending the hour with us. Like we said, we know everyone has a very busy schedule, so it means a lot. So we appreciate your time. Let us know your questions and have a great day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.